Top of the morning, 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 top of the morning.
What's good, y'all? Welcome back to another video.
In this video, I'll be giving you my review of the Alabasta Saga in One Piece,
which will include the Reverse Mountain arc, the Whiskey Peak arc, Little Garden arc, Drum Island arc, and Alabasta arc.
But before we get into the video,
please be sure to subscribe to the channel as well as the notification bell to get notified for more content that I put out. As well, if you end up enjoying this video, be sure to hit us with a like and leave a comment and let us know your thoughts. So, without any further ado, let's just get into it, y'all.
If she ain't got a butt, fucking get into it, yo.
If she ain't got a butt, fucking get into it, yo.
Alright, we are finally having this conversation because it's been a minute now since you finished the Alabasta Saga. And how are you feeling so far?
Yeah, so full disclaimer, I finished the saga very quickly. For any of you educators out there, you know the period between Thanksgiving break and Christmas break for educators is that's the best way I can describe it. So I used this saga as an escape, but I went through it very quickly. We were supposed to do a video halfway through on just the first two arcs, but I had to keep watching.
You were a runaway train.
Yeah, and then timing wise, like we were supposed to record this video last night, but it was 11:30 by the time I was ready. So anyway, I apologize, but we're here now. I do have notes this time because it's been so long since I finished the saga that I had to like go back and take some notes so that I feel prepared. Yeah,
because right now you're a little bit in the Skypiea saga.
Yeah.
So, well, we won't talk about that too much in this video, obviously. This is about the Alabasta Saga, which, without taking too long to get into it, because, you know, you're a little bit more ingratiated with One Piece, let's start with the Reverse Mountain arc. Give us your summary and your little thoughts.
Yeah, this was a bit of just like in my opinion, like a filler arc, but it was a very important arc. They're on their way to the Grand Line. So it's very exciting. I was quite excited to see what the heck it looked like because I honestly don't even know what I was picturing the Grand Line to look like. I kind of just like envisioned just like a line of islands. I don't really know. So
literal grand
it's
line. Just a lot of
I really had no idea.
Yeah.
But so basically they are on their way to the Grand Line and then all of a sudden they end up inside a whale. I was a little confused by this, but it was the cutest little whale. His name is Laboon. Laboon. They end up inside Laboon, and this is where they meet Crocus.
Crocus.
Yeah,
close. It's a lot of names.
Crocus. Crocus kind of plays an important role in that, well, we'll get into that towards the end of this arc, but at first he seems like a bad guy, kind of, but then we find out that he's actually good and he's trying to protect Laboon. And we find this out when all of a sudden we're introduced to Miss Wednesday and Mr. Nine, because they are on a mission to kill Laboon for food. And Crocus is protecting him and doesn't let it happen.
How do you feel about Crocus' character?
He was kind of like a filler character. However, he does say something really important at the end of this arc, which we can talk about at the end of the arc. We're still going in order here. My brain has to go in order. I'm sorry. Okay. So we end up learning about the backstory of Laboon and why he plays an important role in the entrance of the Grand Line, and it's because he had this family of pirates. And the pirates ended up going into the Grand Line and they never came back. So Crocus has like a beautiful role in Laboon's life in that he just kind of like tries to keep him alive because Laboon constantly hits his head over and over again. And he does this to get maybe the attention of the pirates that aren't returning, unfortunately. And Crocus tries to like gently tell Laboon like, hey, bro, they're not coming back. But Laboon just is in denial. So Crocus is basically doing everything in his power to protect this whale, this cute little whale. So basically the big points in this arc are because Laboon is kind of in denial, about his pirate family coming back, Luffy shows this cute side of him where he starts randomly fighting Laboon. And we find out that he's actually fighting him so that, and then he says at the end of the fight, this fight isn't over, I'll be back, in a way to keep Laboon just like motivated and just giving him something to look forward to, because Luffy's going to come back to finish this fight. So then Crocus plays a very important role because he prepares them for the Grand Line, and he introduces them to the log, the compass thingy.
The log poles.
Yeah. And that's what they needed to get into the Grand Line, basically, to go to the first island, because you can't really do that without a log. So all of that happened, and then Miss Wednesday and Mr. Nine, they were, I thought they were just like kind of introduced in here. They seemed like bad guys, but then they were like, hey, we need you to take us to our village. And Luffy, being Luffy, is like, yeah, sure, I'll take you to your village. It's because they were saying it's welcoming and all these things. So they ended up taking Mr. Nine and Miss Wednesday along with them. And then at the very end, Crocus is kind of reflecting and chilling with Laboon and is like, wow, like, those are the pirates we needed in our lives right now. And then he said, he reminds me of somebody. Goldie Roger. And so in my mind, and I think in all of the viewers' minds, we were like, I wonder why Luffy reminds this random pirate of him. Luffy didn't even mention the old king of pirates. So that plays an interesting part. And then actually in the next arc, we learned something, or is it the next one or the one after? We learned something interesting about the D in Goldie Roger. Anyway, we'll get into that later.
Well, the thing for Crocus is that shit, was this something they told you? I feel like they did tell you this. That he was on Goldie Roger's crew.
Oh, maybe it's a little
yeah, so he was a doctor on the crew.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's why he's able to kind of like make that connection. I feel like that they did say that,
they
but it's one of those
did.
things that they may have overlooked. And then for Laboon, I can't remember actually, because like there's so many episodes I didn't get to rewatch with you, so like there's certain blanks that I have because you just did your own thing. But Laboon is actually, like, I think, trying to climb up so that it can kind of leave and go find them.
Oh, I thought he was just banging his head.
Yeah, I think that's why, like, that's why he keeps doing that. I want to say that's the reason why. You could be, I'm pretty sure it might be yours, but I want to say maybe it's a 50-50. I can't remember exactly, and it is what it is. Like, I can't.
Well, long story short, he just wants his little family back. Yeah. And he's waiting for them.
The thing that I liked about Crocus in this, because the manga shows it, but the anime really hones in on it when they first meet him, and he just keeps giving this delayed reaction of, like, the zoom-in shots. You remember that? When he was just like, hey, who are you? And then it just goes, doof, doof, doof.
Yeah.
Oh, my name's Crocus.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like,
While he's like chilling on the beach inside the whale. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
It was, in the beginning of this arc, that was my reaction. I was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
Like, this is the introduction to the Grand Line. They're inside a whale right now. Is the whale the Grand Line? Like, those were the thoughts going on through my head. I was so confused.
Is the whale
Is the whale the Grand Line?
Yeah, no, it's crazy.
But then it made sense towards the end.
Alright, cool. So, Reverse Mountain, what are you giving it out of 10?
Yeah, this rating thing is hard for me. Because, like, I don't want to give it a bad rating because all of the arcs are so important. But it, like, wasn't that. I love Laboon. But to me, it did feel like just, like, a little filler arc. But it was an introduction. They got the log. Crocus made a little connection to the former king of pirates. So maybe, like, a solid 6.5.
It's a 6?
And a half.
A 6.5? A 6.5 out of 10?
Out of 10. Mm-hmm.
That's respectable. That's fine. It's a transition arc, honestly.
Yeah, that's what it felt. And it just, like, we were introduced
there were things
to
that happened.
Miss Wednesday. So there's a lot of important things in it, which is why I don't want to, like, give it anything less than a 6. I don't even want to give it a 6. But I don't think I can commit to a 7.
Yeah, because, like, you gotta also, like, when you're going through this series,
you're
comparing it to other arcs, and you're like,
saga.
yeah, you're like, nah, come on, that's not, like, it's good storytelling, but like you're just like comparing it this arc to that arc, you're like, I can't give this the same rating as that. You know,
it's
what
also
I mean?
just so hard to compare because there's so many different. Well, whatever. We'll just keep going.
All right, so 6.5 out of 10 for Reverse Mountain. All right, so let's get on to the next arc, the Whiskey Peak arc.
Whiskey Peak. This was an adventure. So we got to Whiskey Peak. I'm gonna look back at my notes too. The villagers were super welcoming, and you know Luffy is hype because they were offering him and the Straw Hats food and drinks, and Luffy became a big ball. And so basically the first part of it is they were all just celebrating like, welcome pirates, yay, and then everybody knocked out besides Zoro, because Zoro is a swordsman and Zoro never lets his guard down. So Zoro is kind of eavesdropping on the villagers, and he finds out that it was a setup. They were talking about how they're going to kill the pirates because of the bounty that was on them all. And I don't fully remember when we find out that they're part of Baroque Works. It might be towards the end of this arc. But he basically knows that this was a setup and that there's a group of them that are trying to kill now the pirates. But Zoro is like, not on my watch. And then, so this is where we see Zoro and his badassness, and he fights all of the Baroque Work agents, including, was it muscly one? No.
Honestly, it gets confusing with all those names. There's so many.
Yeah, I for the big like muscly one, put up a good fight. Miss Wednesday is Vivi. Anyway, he is fighting, la la la. So then they eventually find out that Miss Wednesday is actually a mole, and that she's the princess of Alabasta. And Mr. 8, not Mr. 9, but Mr. 8 is her guard. He kind of shows up. La la la. So Zoro is fighting them all, and then eventually they're like, you have to protect Vivi. And they ask Zoro to protect the princess, and then Nami jumps in, and of course, Nami being Nami, she's like, sure, for a billion berries.
You gotta get that
billion
coin.
or million, yeah. And then in the midst of all of this, like, planning to protect the princess and Nami trying to get her coin, Luffy wakes up. And all Luffy sees are all the townspeople, like, hurt and injured, and he's like, what happened? And they're like, Zoro. And so Luffy is like, nah, like, after all of these people were welcoming Zoro, you hurt them all. So then Luffy gets really mad at Zoro, and they full-blown fight. And Zoro's kind of like, yo, bro, like, you don't understand, like, they're actually against us. And Luffy's just not hearing it, because anything that has to do with food gains Luffy's love, and you
feed Luffy, he's
loyal forever.
He'll
clearly.
take down the government for you.
He'll take down his best friend. And so they full blown fought, and that was pretty cool. But the funny part about this whole their fight was the Baroque Works agents kept on trying to also fight them, but they easily just like knocked them down. They're like, stop interrupting us, and then they kept on fighting, and eventually, I forgot what triggered it, but Luffy eventually heard Zoro and was like, oh, sorry, bro. Like, yeah, let's protect Vivi.
It's because Nami snuffed him.
Nami hit
him with the,
like, stop
yo, what are you doing? And then, like, clocks both of them.
Yeah, so eventually he figures it out. They stop fighting. And then, okay, so we learn after all this, they're fighting, they're trying to escape. They learned that there's a big bad guy, Crocodile. I think they call him Crocodile in this part, or they either call him Mr. Zero. Yeah. One of those. And Nami is like, oh, well, I'm good because he doesn't have my picture or anything. But then the Unluckies show up, and the Unluckies, like, take her photo, like, her sketch, and then go off. And then Nami's like, oh, no, we out. So then, because she was about to be like, okay, I'm in the clear, no worries. But so then they all try to escape the island. But some of the Baroque Works agents were still alive and on their way to get them. But this is where Mr. Nine dresses up like Vivi, goes on a ship, and then his ship gets blown up. So he showed a lot of loyalty in that part, and everyone was very upset, especially Luffy was upset at that part. And then all of a sudden, what's her name?
Miss All Sunday.
Miss All Sunday, who plays a very important role later. Miss All Sunday shows up on their ship on a turtle, like comes up on a little turtle, and is tries to warn them, like, don't go to Alabasta, like, if you do, I'll be waiting for you there, like, acting all...
Yeah, she basically was just like, yo, you can either go this route or this other route, and this one's going to be easier for you. And then, you know, they kind of, like, don't know if they could trust her. So.
Yeah, and Luffy is, like, so pissed at her at this point because she blew up Mr. Nine's... Or Mr. Nine's ship. Anyway, so they sail off to Little Garden with now Vivi and Karu on board. And then we go into Karu. And then we go into Little Garden.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny for me because, like, for this arc, it's so, like... This I actually did not enjoy. I enjoyed Reverse Mountain more than this. Because at this point, I was just like...
This felt like another filler for me, which it was, because it was an introductory to some of the important characters.
Filler.
Not filler, yeah, I know, because there's still filler episodes. Yeah. This wasn't filler. Transitional.
Because it can feel fillery because you just feel like nothing's happening sometimes, or you feel like we're a little bit... The movement is slow.
Yeah.
But
it's all of these transitional arcs. They're just a setup to the beautifulness that's soon to come. Yeah. And even some things that I know I haven't even seen yet, but for episodes like this or arcs like this, I know it's just a setup for what's about to happen. Yeah. So that's why these are so important, and it's hard to, like, disregard them, and I try to, like, remember the key points that I think will be important, because they are pretty obvious, like the important parts where it's like, well, maybe I should remember that, or like hold on to that for later. But
with the I guess maybe now that you're in this next saga, you kind of got a better understanding of why there's like sagas, but then we break up arcs into sagas, because now that you've gone through 2 sagas completely, and you kind of see the progression of like kind of like build up to this climax, and then we kind of hit a reset. Oops, what the hit the keyboard. So like, you know, East Blue, like you go Romance Dawn, and the stakes kind of like keep rising as we get to like the climax, and then boom, you get to Reverse Mountain arc, and then that's a whole new saga, and then like you kind of work your way up until you get Alabasta, and now that you're a little bit into Skypiea, you kind of are at the beginning parts. You're not at the climax yet, obviously, but now, I guess, does it make a little bit more sense now, like, why we haven't broken up like this in the series?
Yeah, I've always loved the arcs in it.
Structure.
I love the structure. And the writing is beautiful. Like, Oda does, like, a really good job setting us up.
Yeah. So, Whiskey Peak. What are you giving it out of 10?
I wanted to give it a 6.5 again.
Consistent.
Same.
Same.
I mean, again, we're introduced to really important characters. And we see Zoro's badassness even more, but still not, like, enough to be more than that for me.
All right, cool.
But it's important. It's important to us.
Cool. So, that is the Whiskey Peak arc. Let's get into Little Garden.
I loved Little Garden. I felt like I went through the first 2 arcs, like, really fast. I think in our last video, I was up to Little Garden, actually. And this is what stuck out to me the most. Because I love me some dinosaurs. I love me some, like, prehistoric times. And just, like, I don't know. I really, really, really like this arc. So...
yeah, you was hyped because I remember when you was watching. You was like, "Yo, there's giants! There's giants!" Bro.
I really liked it, and also I did like the fighting at the end. I was like shaking in my boots at one point. So let's just get into the beginning. So basically, they are at the second island in the Grand Line, which is a summer island, and it's also set in prehistoric prehistoric times. They're in a jungle, and this jungle is filled with dinosaurs, and also 2 giants. Our friends Brogy and Dory. Dory? Doris? Dory.
Doris!
Something with a D. I think it's Dory. Dory and Brogy. So they end up there. Everyone is kind of
Are you
like...
thinking about Finding Nemo? Is that why you don't want to say Dory?
Yeah, I don't remember his name being Dory, but I think it was.
I think it's Dory.
I'll fact check
I wanna
this
say
afterwards.
Dory.
We'll fact check it, and then we'll put a
Somebody
little...
else will fact check us.
Well, no, we could fact check, and we'll put the correct name here,
Stop
right here.
comment.
I'll do it. Okay, so they end up there. We don't see the giants yet when they first end up there. Who's a little nervous? Usopp and Nami are a little bit nervous to get off of the ship because they're like, nah, like, this doesn't look safe. Vivi and Luffy go out to explore, and then Zoro and Sanji end up getting into a hunting competition where they're trying to find, like, the biggest piece of meat. Ayo. Sorry. So Usopp and Nami they're too afraid to leave the ship, so they stay on the ship. As Luffy and Vivi are exploring, they meet the giant Dory, I think. And he explains that he's a giant warrior from the, I think, island of Elbaf.
Yeah, Elbaf.
Elbaf. And then Usopp and Nami, while they're on their ship, on the ship still, they don't go off yet, Brogy comes, and then they are very afraid of Brogy, and so they're freaking out, because that's them. But then, eventually, especially Usopp, like, falls in love with Brogy and thinks he's the coolest person, coolest giant, because of his, like, loyalty to fighting, and he's, like, a true warrior, so Usopp, like, really looks up to Brogy. Literally and figuratively. And then Mr. Five, who we are introduced to, I forgot to mention this in the last one. Mr. Five is the bomb guy who, like, makes bombs with his boogers or something. It's really weird. Like, I deal with boogers and stuff for a living with children, but for some reason, an anime character blowing snot to make bombs is really gross to me. It's really gross.
That's where you draw the line.
I just don't get it, but it's fine. Like, couldn't he like spit? I think that's a little bit less gross than boogers. Like, just go, and then it's a bomb.
It's one piece, right?
But, yeah, so he uses his boogers. So Mr. Five shows up, and also Miss Valentine, what's her name? Valentine is the Kilo, is that? She's the one that basically makes herself weigh a lot more. She's in the air, and then she slams down, like, accelerates and brings, like, lots of weight down. I think it's Kilo.
Is that the little girl?
She's the one with the umbrella thing.
Oh, shorty with the yellow hat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I barely I didn't get to watch this.
Well, and also she only lasted, like, an episode and a half. So they end up there, and then also Mr. 3 and Golden something.
Golden Week.
Yes, she's the one with the paint. Mr. 3.
Yeah, the paint brush.
Yeah, the paint one. She was significant in the Luffy part. So they end up there, and they're all plotting and scheming and trying to figure out how to not only kill the Straw Hats, but also the Giants. They're on, like, a mission. We all of a sudden learn about, like, so all of a sudden the volcano erupts, and then we learn about that the 2 giants, Brogy and Dory, are in, like, a lifelong battle. They are true warriors, and they will always fight, and they end up having, like, a really beautiful friendship because they basically can't defeat each other. They're same strength, and so we learn that, and then Usopp falls in love with them. And then this whole time, Zoro and Sanji were still having that meat competition, trying to kill the biggest dinosaur or whatever. And then they split up again, and then they celebrate the fight with some drinks. And Dory is drinking with Luffy and Vivi, and as he's drinking, it explodes inside of him. So remember that booger guy we mentioned before? It was booger guy's nose bomb. Booger bomb.
Booger bomb.
He put it in the alcohol.
Booger
He put it in the alcohol and it exploded inside of Dory. And Dory blamed Luffy. So Dory was like, "You're trying to kill me, bro?" And then he tries to fight Luffy, and you know, Luffy's trying to like not fight him because he really likes him. He's like, "It's not me," but then he has to fight him. So then he punches him in the stomach, and it makes his injuries way worse. So he got explosives on his inside. Luffy punches it with his gum.
I was actually impressed at like how Luffy like really just took him down so easily.
Yeah.
Like I thought it was gonna be a little bit more difficult. I'm like, oh well, this is a giant, and I was just like, yo, bro. I mean, granted, he was already hurt.
Yeah.
But I mean, a hit to the gut would probably take anybody out.
Yeah. So then the volcano goes off again, and Luffy's like, "No, like don't go. You're already injured." Even Vivi's just like, "No, stop. Like don't go fight. You're injured. You're gonna lose." And then he traps Luffy under a rock, and then goes to fight. And then he gets defeated by Brogy, and then it's a little blur in between, but basically the Baroque works agents show themselves. So we see Mr. 3, we see all of them. Well, first we mainly see Booger Bomb and Valentine. They try to like kill Luffy while he's stuck under a rock, but you know Luffy doesn't get defeated. Nami and Usopp show up. They end up by Brogy somehow. It's a little bit of a blur to me, but they end up by Brogy, and then Mr. 3, his power is candle making.
Candle making.
So he could turn anything into wax, I guess.
Candle making.
So he somehow traps Brogy, who is the surviving giant after that fight, and makes a giant wax figure or candle figure out of
his wax. He makes
wax.
He has no wax. He makes wax.
Wax.
He makes candles.
He's a candle maker.
He's a candle maker.
And he
works at Bath and Body Works in Yankee Candle.
Yes, and he tries to make a Yankee Candle out of Zoro, Nami, and Vivi. They all get stuck on the big thing, and then the top of it is spinning and like shooting off wax, and yeah, and all this time Luffy is kind of recovering, and Usopp is also recovering because of Mr. 5 with the bombs and everything, because they were already kind of hurt. So then all of a sudden, so while they were all on the candle, about to die, Zoro was like, "Well, I'm gonna just cut off my legs." And like the second before, well, the whole time also he was standing like this, trying to like look cool before he dies, so at least his candle is badass. But then he's about to cut off his legs because he's like, "All right, let's go out with a fight." About to cut off his legs. He doesn't, because Luffy, Karu, and Usopp show up at the perfect timing. So here they come, and they fight. I'm trying to think of, they kind of take out Mr. 3, but then Golden Week puts Luffy under a spell. Oh, and side note, this whole time, I was like, where is your boy? I was getting...
your boy?
I was getting so mad. I was like, where's Sanji? This whole arc. I was like, where is he? Is he still trying to go find freaking the biggest meat? Like, I was getting so aggy, and then the agginess faded at the end because I understood why he disappeared, and he ended up being a hero, whatever.
A win is a win, man.
But I was like, where is he? Like, they were all like near death.
He's about to be like, this is why I hate him.
I was getting so frustrated. Anyway, that was this whole time. I was like, all right, Sanji, where are you? And then he shows up, but that's fine. So Luffy puts under, I guess, a spell, kind of like a color spell by Golden Week. She basically, if she paints a color on you, you act that emotion. So she painted like a color on him, and he was like happy and like laughing nonstop, and he can't get out of that.
Some school stuff for you.
Yeah, kind of. We actually just had an emotions week where we associated a color with a feeling. So I was like, oh wow. Anyway. So that was her thingy, and then she put him under like a Zen spell, so he was there sipping tea. Meanwhile, his bros were turning into candles, and then Usopp came at the perfect timing, and really, the cool thing about Usopp is like he's silly. Like he's not strong. Like he
stays in his lane.
He does stay in his lane. He frustrates me sometimes, but he outsmarts people a lot. He has really good strategy, and this is one of the arcs where he showed his strategy a little bit. So then he comes and kind of snaps Luffy out of it a little bit, and then they end up defeating everybody. He also, where we really see Usopp's badassness is when he tricks Mr. Five into eating his Tabasco star. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, they defeat them. And then, remember, I was like, where's Sanji? He ends up wandering into their little, like,
wax house
candle house.
Yeah.
Wax house. And it's like a little, there's some tea in there. There's a snail phone, and the snail phone rings. I think that's what you call it, snail phone?
So,
snail something?
That's snail phone, totally fine. If
Right.
the actual name, it's going to be even harder. It's called a Den Mushi.
Say that again? Say that one more time. Den
A
what?
Den Mushi.
Mushi? M? Okay.
Den Mushi.
Like mush. Okay.
You can say, or a transponder snail.
That's what I...
Transponder snail, but like, if you can say either one. Den Mushi, transponder snail.
Okay.
But Den Mushi might actually be easier than transponder snail.
Den Mushi.
Den Mushi.
So there's a Den Mushi, some tea in this little wax house, and the Den Mushi rings, and Sanji again is in there at the good time and just picks up. He's like, hello? And it's Mr. Zero on the other side, or Crocodile.
Your boy.
Your boy. And Crocodile is like, just like, how'd the mission go? Sanji lies and says that he defeated the Straw Hats.
Big brain.
And then Crocodile is like, I bet the Unluckies are coming to give you the eternal pose?
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 Because it's log pose and eternal pose.
Eternal pose. Why do I think pros?
Nah, it's pose. So a log pose will get you the most closest magnetic field to a different island.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird because science is kind of a thing for here. Like, I don't know. Is that even do our electromagnetic waves given away from land masses? I guess that's what a compass is, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, whatever. So a log post will, if you're on an island, you have to be there for a certain amount of time, and then whichever one is closer is where you'll get like the direction to the next island. An eternal pose will always show you the direction to a specific island.
Yeah. So they give him that.
Yeah.
The Unluckies bring the eternal pose, and Sanji beats him up to get the pose.
How you feel about the Unluckies design? Like a little otter.
They're just so random.
Just
They're
like
cute, but they're just random. So they get the pose, and then Mr. Crocodile buys it. He's like, great, he defeated them. Did I say? Yeah, Sanji was acting like he was Mr. 3 that whole time.
Yeah.
So that was cool. Then Sanji finally goes to his friends, and he's like, hey, I got this thing. And they're like, oh, great, whatever. The Giants ended up being okay, which was cool. Both of them ended up surviving. Another important thing about this arc was, like, the whole time, every time something heroic happened, or, like, something that showed their loyalty as friends, Vivi the whole time was like, wow, like, these are my guys. Like,
Yo, I mean, they're alright.
yeah. She's like, I mess with them. Like, so that was her the whole time. Nami, it's like a very, like, minuscule thing, but because of the way they, like, zoom in on it and pay attention to it, you can tell it's going to be a big thing. Nami gets a strange bite on her stomach because after the whole wax thing, she ended up in just, like, her bra and, like, short shorts or something, which Sanji was annoying about. He was gone the whole episode, and the second he sees Nami, he's like, whatever. But,
Nami Swan!
So that was an important part to end on. And then, yeah.
Alright. That's Little Garden was bulky, actually, when you think about it.
Yeah, I also remembered the most, like, little details about Little Garden because it was my fave.
Yeah.
I like Little Garden a lot.
like it a lot.
I like it a lot.
So out of 10, what are you giving Little Garden?
8.5.
8.5.
8.
No, I'm not trying to change your mind.
8 or 8.5, yeah, because I am comparing it to other arcs that were like, wow. But I really like Little Garden. I think
you like reptiles, so all the dinosaurs.
Well, even that aside, there was just like a lot of cool parts in it. Yeah. We got to see how each Straw Hat plays such an important role in the team. Usopp stepped it up a little bit. Sanji, although I was like, where are you the whole time? He ended up playing a really important role, which led us to 2 arcs from now. Yeah, it was a really good episode. And also, like, we just got to see, like, true camaraderie with the Giants and, it's kind of like what One Piece is all about, is like the camaraderie, loyalty, yeah.
I mean, it was dope to also see, like, Usopp kind of, like, get inspiration from them, too. Because he was really, it really lit a fire under him, like, oh, yo, I want to be like these guys, which is, like, dope to see, because even though my man makes up so much stories all the time, like, seeing him, like, truly get motivated to, like, want to, like, step up is dope.
Yeah.
So, 8.5, 8 out of 10, what are we doing? We got a
8.5.
8.5 out of 10.
I really liked this arc.
There we go. All right, cool. So, next arc, Drum Island.
Yes. Let's get into Drum Island. So, this one was a little, like, all over the place for me, because I was really into the Doctor character. We meet and fall in love with Chopper. Sorry, that was at the big moment. But it was still, like, from my brain, I was just kind of like, whoa, what's happening right now? But it was a good arc. So, we get to Drum Island. We meet Dalton. Dalton kind of explains that Drum Island, side note, is a winter island. It's cold there. It's covered in snow. So yeah, we meet Dalton. And he basically explains that they were but recently invaded by the Blackbeard pirates.
Yeah.
Am I correct with that? Yes. And their king, who they wanted to be their former king, Paul. Oh, who they bumped into on their way to Drum Island, didn't they?
Maybe?
Yeah, they passed their ship, I think. They knew of Paul before they got to Drum Island, and I think it's because they passed him.
I think you're thinking about Mr.
No,
Alabasta.
No, I'm not, because remember Paul ate their ship.
I don't remember that. Oh, okay. I mean, I guess.
Paul ate. So
I told you I missed these episodes.
On their way to Drum Island, they bumped into Paul one way or the other, and Paul bit their ship. So they got to Drum Island. Oh. The whole reason why they're going to Drum Island is because they're trying to find a doctor for Nami. Because, you know, that bug bite, that was significant in that last little ending scene in... Well, not ending, but one of the ending scenes in Little Garden was because Nami got that big bite, which I knew was going to have some type of significance. So on their way to the next island, which they wanted it to be Alabasta because they wanted it to be Alabasta because Vivi had to go save her people. Oh, also, Vivi wants to go save her people because she knows the Baroque works are kind of taking over her island. So they're trying to rush to get to Alabasta. But Nami, on the way to Alabasta, gets really sick because of that big bite. We don't know it's the bite, but we assume it's the bite. And so they are just trying to find the closest island, and it ends up being Drum Island. On their way to Drum Island, they somehow bump into Paul. I forgot how. Paul is a former king of Drum Island, which we found out later. And he has is it the Munch Munch fruit?
Yeah. You thought I was feeling you.
Munch, yes. So he got the munch fruit, and he basically eats anything. He eats the ship. So they do bump into him, and then they end up ironically on Drum Island, which he is the former king at, and they meet Dalton. Sorry, this is how I feel about One Piece. It's everywhere, but it's so important. There's so many little important parts that I don't want to miss out on these important parts. They meet Dalton. Dalton basically explains that they were formerly invaded by the Blackbeard pirates, and then while they were being invaded, Paul and his team or whatever just fled the island. They were like, deuces, and Dalton was like, that's not heroic, and who gets really upset by that is Vivi. Vivi is like, what type of king is he? Because we know Vivi's all about her people. So anyway, their goal on this island is to find a darn doctor. But you know what Paul did? Well, Paul took all them doctors and made them his personal doctors. There was 20 of them. I forgot what their names were, but they were like the 20, basically elite, for lack of a better term, doctors. And he took them all to himself. And the only way that people could get the doctors were if they paid or something like that. Thanks. And so they get there, they're like, there's no darn doctors, what? But then Dalton's like, actually, there's one. She's a witch, and she lives up in that castle.
She's a witch.
She's a witch. And so basically, a chunk of this arc is them just trying to get to that darn doctor. They finally, oh my goodness, so much happened, actually. Those bunnies, which played a really important role. I actually really like those bunnies. They ended up being on their side because Luffy, you know, Luffy's all about those animals. Luffy has a soft spot in my heart because he's all about those animals. Like, think about it. Think about Laboon, the bunnies.
I mean, he be fighting animals.
He fights them, but then, like, looks out for them. Chopper. He wanted to eat Chopper, which we'll get into. So, okay, they're trying to find this witch. I forget the exact split up. Now I'm drawing a blank. Vivi stays with Dalton. I think Usopp stays with Dalton. Luffy and Sanji?
That's the thing that happens a lot. It gets overwhelming because, like...
Yes. No, it's Luffy and Sanji because you know what Zoro's doing? Zoro actually did bother me in this arc. Zoro was helpless in this one. He's just trying to, like, exercise this whole time, be like a macho man and like work out in the snow. That's so I was like, really, Zoro?
Let me see. I think you can see I have Zoro swords on the wall, so you can see them in the video. That's both of them actually.
So Zoro is trying to get the gain, so that's where he is the whole time. It's Sanji and Luffy and Nami. Yeah, because Sanji, of course, wants to stay with Nami. They are going up the mountain.
He took care of her. She was sick.
Well, Luffy ended up taking care of both of them. They end up going up the mountain to find this doctor. Ended up in another village. Lots of things happened. As they're going up the mountain, there are these, like, up the mountain to the castle. There are these bunnies. They're crazy, crazy bunnies. They bump into them, and they fight. And then the bunnies cause an avalanche, which knocks Sanji out, basically. So Luffy's basically carrying Sanji and Nami up to the witch, to the doctor. The witch ends up coming up there and taking care of all three of them, Luffy, Sanji, and Nami. It ended up being that bite was some crazy bite, some silly bite that really...
Some silly bite.
Some silly bite. I should stop using the word crazy. A bite that ended up almost killing Nami, which was like, you basically had 2 more days left to live. And then we're introduced to Chopper. Chopper is basically this witch's, or the witch doctor, her sidekick, she basically trained him how to be a doctor. And then we learned the beautiful backstory of Chopper with the former doctor. I do forget that doctor's name, but I do know Cherry Blossom Doctor.
Hiraluk.
Something like that. Something with an H.
Hiraluk.
Okay.
Oh my god, I don't even... No.
That's okay. The Cherry Blossom Doctor. If you know One Piece, you'll know who that is. No, you're female? Right. No, it's Hiraluk. It's Hiruluk or something like that, or ULUK.
Wait, so what's Dr. Lee's name? What's Dr. Green's name? Oh, I'm gonna drive myself nuts now.
No, the Dr. H, that's the cherry blossom one, I think.
Yeah, it's him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we learned that Chopper basically had this other mentor. It was another doctor who took him in under his wings. Oh, because Chopper...
Kureha. That's her name.
Oh, the witch?
Yeah.
Oh.
Kureha.
Chopper ate a fruit. So he's a reindeer and he ate a fruit and it ended up making him kind of human / reindeer.
The human fruit.
Yes. So Chopper can talk. He's a cute little reindeer. And he was basically banned by society because he was different. And so this doctor, Dr. H, Cherry Blossom Doctor, took him under his wing. And basically what this doctor wanted was to just kind of bring hope back to Drum Island. And to do that, it was to create, I guess, cherry blossom trees, from what I understood.
Which is impossible in Winter Island, honestly.
Yeah, because it's winter time. So that was his mission. And because Paul was a savage, he killed him, basically. But a big important piece of this arc was the cherry blossom flag, which we'll kind of talk about in later, I think, because I pulled back to that flag at the end of this whole saga. But so yeah, he died just having this one dream to bring cherry blossoms and hope to this island that was under just the worst type of rain ever, which was Paul. So that's kind of Chopper's backstory. He died. Chopper was heartbroken, but then the witch doctor took him in. And Luffy wakes up from being ill, and so does Sanji, and they chase Chopper because they want to eat him. They only look at him as meat, because that's all Sanji does. He looks at everything as meat. No, I'm kidding.
Venison. Hey.
And
damn, killing Sanji. You really be killing him. He's not that bad.
It's fine. He redeems himself in Alabasta, so it's fine. Mr. Prince. So then, let's fast forward a little bit because it's a little filler. Well, Paul shows up. They all kind of fight. The crew gets back together. They all get back to the to the top of the mountain. Even Zoro, I think at this point, eventually gets up there after he's done focusing on his gains. Dalton ends up there. They end up defeating Paul. How they do this, I honestly...
It was a lot of shenanigans.
It was a lot of shenanigans.
Because, like, those two guys, like, got in the same jacket and acted like they combined. And,
yeah, his little side crew people who also had devil fruit.
Yeah, and then Chopper, he was fighting too. He was like had his rumble balls and all that stuff. Luffy was getting chased by Wapol in the castle. That's when Wapol did that weird thing where he ate himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were very confused when that happened. Actually, he was like...
Oh, and then he really wanted the key to all of the machinery, guns and stuff. And Nami took it.
Yeah, Nami bumped into him and pulled the Nami.
Nami took it. So that was good because it ends up being important at the end. Anyway, they end up defeating Wapol and his crew. The doctors, those 20 doctors end up being good, and they actually saved Dalton at the end because Dalton was like buried under the avalanche snow. And then, so Chopper's left with a decision because basically, okay, I wish I could show a picture of maybe if you could put it right here, a picture of the flag, the cherry blossom flag. That flag ended up being really important because Dr. H, Cherry Blossom Doctor, Dr. H, he basically said, like, I'm going to put up this flag because it represents being like a pirate. Like, being a badass, basically. Being a warrior. And that ended up being super important. And they didn't want that flag to get knocked down. The crossbones represent that. Being like a pirate. Basically never losing hope. And so, that flag was up. And then Chopper was left with the decision because he kept on hearing Dr. H's voice, like, you know, be like a pirate, like go travel the seas and all those things. Chopper was left with a choice, okay, do I want to join Luffy's crew because the Straw Hats wanted a doctor, and we know that Chopper has been given doctor training. And so Chopper was left with, okay, do I stay on this island or do I join the crew? And the witch doctor, she really wanted the best for Chopper and knew that the best for him would be to join the crew. So she kind of like bullies him into joining, and she was really mean to him, but all of that was to just get him to join. And then as they were leaving, the witch doctor set off a bunch of cannons and stuff, which ended up being what the Dr. H, what his vision was, what his dream was, and the cannons with a specific powder combined made it look like it was raining or snowing cherry blossoms. And so that was his vision, and that was the sign of hope. Well, Paul was defeated, and the island was saved again. So that was special. And Chopper became a Straw Hat. He joined the crew. So now we have, let's list them all. We have Luffy, we have Zoro, we have Sanji, we have Nami, we have Usopp, we have Vivi, we have Karu, and we have Chopper, all on the go merry. And Nami's cured, by the way. And they're heading to Alabasta now, which was their goal from the beginning. Well, since they learned more about Vivi. Yeah. Did I miss anything?
What, the Willa D stuff? Did you talk about that one? Did I miss that?
Oh, was that in this one?
That's when Kureha was like...
Yeah.
Oh. He's like, oh.
Okay.
That's what y'all calling him now? Like, she said Gold Roger. That's why you've been saying D Roger, because...
D, okay. Sorry, I forgot this. This is super important. I even wrote it down, too. So, we learned something important about Luffy. And this makes you kind of like, okay, like, when is this going to get dropped on us? When are we going to learn Luffy's connection to Gold D Roger? Because the D in Luffy's name, and also Gold Roger's name, is called like the Will of D. It's like a mysterious D in names, and that's how Luffy's kind of connected to Gold D Roger. And that was in this arc. But who said that? The witch?
Yeah, Kureha. Yeah.
So that was important.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to the arc at that point. I mean, I
but
guess...
we get Chopper.
Yeah, you get... I mean, how do you feel about Chopper?
I like Chopper.
Do you think is... I'm very indifferent about Chopper. I think he's become the mascot of One Piece. So he's there's a lot of like Chopper merchandise, as you saw, because I showed you the Jamie Lee Curtis thing. Yeah,
he's cute. He's not my favorite. I really like him though. He is the doctor that they need. He does have a lot of strength. I think he does have loyalty. I like his backstory. But he's not my favorite. I can't say that. Yeah. He's cute though. He adds a nice dynamic and like silliness to the crew, which we all love for them. So I like Chopper.
All right. So out of 10, what are we doing? What are we giving it?
I love Chopper. Again, not my favorite, but I really like him, and we get introduced to him. We learn about the Will of D, and that the cherry blossom flag, I think, is really it's a good representation of One Piece, which I'll get into a little bit more, I guess, at the end of Alabasta. 7.5 or an 8. I'm leaning towards
7.5 and an 8.
Or 8, yeah.
You think Little Guard's better?
Yeah.
That's fair.
I'll give it an 8 because of Chopper. And because of the backstory. I really like all the doctor situations. The witch was really cool. Give it an 8.
Nice. I'm like messing around with these pictures. I'm trying my best.
That's fine.
I'm trying to like change it.
Oh, I also wrote in my notes something about... Oh, I guess I already said this.
What?
How Vivi's so shocked. Because of how Vivi's so shocked about Paul's abandonment of his people. It kind of shows you a little bit more about Vivi's character.
Yeah.
How she's such a loyal princess of Alabasta.
She's about that life.
She's about that life. She's about the people. She really cares about the people, and you really see that, of course, in the next arc. And the next arc is very long, I will say.
The Alabasta arc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It went on forever in the best way. But I'm sorry if my thoughts are even more jumbled with this arc because a lot was going on.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it. So, 8 out of 10
Yeah.
for Drum Island.
Drum Island, yeah. Because Chopper.
Alright, cool. So, what is it, recording for maybe 40, 50 minutes now?
Yeah,
we are finally here. This was really supposed to end up being different videos, split in half.
Yeah, my bad.
But you watched too much in one
I
sitting.
couldn't stop once we got to Little Garden.
Yeah, at that point I was just like, hey, we can't really do this video if you already know everything. So
I
we must
also,
just do it in
every
one
time
sitting.
we want to sit down and film, I'm tired. I'm too tired. So, on our way. We're on our way to the Alabasta arc.
You cannot be singing those songs right now.
We're on our way to Alabasta. We bump into Bon Clay. This plays an important part. When I was trying to mentally prepare for this, I almost forgot this part, but it's super important because of what happens. So we bump into Bon Clay. I honestly forget how. It's just another ship encounter where they bump into each other. Bon Clay, oh, I do know how. This is funny, actually. They were hungry, and they were using Karu as bait. So they were fishing with Karu, and then Bon Clay ends up on Karu, and they're like, huh? Bon Clay ends up being kind of a vibe for them. He has the same silly energy, and they kind of like him. Vivi's like, I think I know him from somewhere, but she can't just quite figure out how. Sanji's a bit skeptical of him. He's just kind of like, nah, bro, don't touch me.
Don't touch me, bro.
But Bon Clay shows his devil fruit power, which I don't know what it's called, but basically he can turn into anybody if he touches them with one of his hands. I think it's his left. If he touches them with his left, and then he touches his face, and then he can turn into that person. So he touches Luffy, Nami, Zoro.
Clone fruit.
Clone, oh. Zoro, Chopper, all of them besides Sanji, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, and not Vivi. He doesn't touch Vivi.
Nah.
All of them besides Sanji and Vivi. And then as he's showing his power, Vivi notices her father. He turns himself into her father because he's kind of showing off, all of these people that I've touched, I remember, and I can turn into them. And she's like, wait, why was my dad there? And then he leaves, and they find out he's Bon Clay, and she's like, oh, Bon Clay, he's a part of Baroque Works. And then they get really skeptical, so then they put, all we know in this moment is they put a bandage on their left arm, so that they can...
You already got your left arm showing, so they could... I don't know if it's in the light, but yeah, they can see it.
They put a bandage on their left arm so that they can identify themselves. If Bon Clay turns into them, this is their way to show that they're the true them. So that's just a little important piece as we get into Alabasta. So Alabasta's a lot. There's a lot that happens, so I'm just going to kind of point out the important parts.
Yeah, it's long.
It's long. The important parts, one of the biggest important parts, we meet Luffy's brother, Ace. Ace also shows up at the end of previous saga, no? On the marina, yeah.
They give you a flashback in the arc where they show that he went to Drum Island and told them, yo, if you see this guy.
He was on Drum Island, and wasn't he also on the one in the previous saga?
Lowtown?
Yes. Didn't he also show up in Lowtown? I think so.
He might have been Little Town.
This random dude just keeps popping up, and we end up finding it. It's Ace. Finding out it's Ace.
No, you're thinking about Dragon.
Oh, that was... I don't know.
Let's continue. Let's just keep going.
Whatever. Well, Ace shows up. We find out it's Luffy's brother, and Ace is kind of undefeatable. So this sets us up for something interesting in the future when Luffy and Ace meet again, and they're both fighting to be king of pirates because they both want to be king of pirates. So this is going to be fun. So Ace is there because he's a part of the Whitebeard pirates. Whitebeard pirates are very powerful.
Well, Ace wants to make Whitebeard the king of the pirates.
I thought Ace wanted to be it.
Nah, Ace is like, oh, nah, this guy's going to be king of the pirates.
Got it. Well, so that's still going to be interesting because if Ace has all the power that he has and he's undefeatable, I wonder how much power the Whitebeard has.
The Whitebeard. I wonder the Whitebeard. I mean, there's a Whitebeard and there's a Blackbeard, so.
Yeah. Ooh. And we were kind of already introduced to Blackbeard, so.
Well, you ain't see him.
But we keep hearing about him.
Yeah.
The Blackbeard
you saw him
pirates.
now, because,
Yeah.
like, you watched it and saw it, I think. No, you probably didn't, actually. I forget what episode you're in. Continue. My bad. This is why it's so hard, because I watch and I know certain things, and I'm
okay.
like, I jumble it up, and I'm like, I should just shut up the whole time.
Okay. So Ace is a part of this island. This island is obviously Alabasta, and it's a desert island. So it's very hot. It's a summer island. Basically, they're traveling to different towns. You'd call them towns, right? They're towns.
Yeah.
Towns on the island.
Cities, towns, whatever.
And
Because it's a country. Don't even, like...
Well, it's a country. I keep on calling it... Well, it's an
Well,
island.
no, it's fine. Yeah, it's an island, but, like,
Okay.
they, like, classify some things. It's like, when there's, like... Think about, like, when there's a government or a governance system established. Okay, this is a country. And then, like, Drum Island, there was no, like, government there or shit like that. So it's like, it's an island.
Yeah.
They're all islands, you know what I mean? You still got to go from a ship to a ship, but...
So, they're traveling across Alabasta, going from town to town. Ace is with them for a majority of the time. Well, not majority, for like half the time. And they keep seeing that like all the towns are basically covered in sand. They've been kind of destroyed by sandstorms. We also learn a little bit about the backstory of Vivi and King Cobra, who's her dad. Basically what has happened is... Okay. We learn about the rebellion a little bit later on, but a little bit about Vivi's backstory is she made a friend, Koza. And Koza plays an important role in her childhood. He was kind of her protector. And fast forward to the future, he is now the leader of the rebellion. And the rebellion is against the king because they think that the king is using this special powder. This special powder to create...
It's dance powder.
Okay.
I was dancing.
This special powder to create rain. So they think he's kind of hogging all the rain because basically when you use this powder, it takes all of the water from surrounding areas and creates rain in just your town. So they think he took all of the rain from all of the surrounding towns. But actually that's not accurate. It wasn't Cobra. It ended up being Crocodile. Right. So Crocodile and the Baroque works have been scheming this whole time, basically trying to get the rebellion against the king so that Crocodile can take over Alabasta.
The country, yeah. He's trying to take over the whole country.
Yeah.
Alabasta, because I know you, like, because you looked something up and you was like, is it Alabasta?
I keep saying, because
Alabasta.
it's the way they say, so I want to say Alabasta. So he wants to take over. But another thing about Crocodile, he's also a warlord. Warlord?
a warlord.
Ours have never been easy for me. I had a little speech thing.
Warlord?
So that's a hard one.
Well, I had to, like, help you out at this point, because you were... The warlord thing wasn't connecting to you in regards to, like, the power.
Yeah.
I'm scared to even use the word power scaling in this, because it's a kind of a no-no in the One Piece kind of community in regards to, like, trying to power scale all the time. But, like, Mihawk
power is everything. Power kind of plays.
Mihawk was a warlord, so like you can think about, you saw what Mihawk did to Zoro. Now imagine where Crocodile's at. If he's the same.
Yeah, that was the exact comparison you used to. because I was like, how's Crocodile getting away with this? And he's a warlord.
They're basically government-sanctioned pirates, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, oh, you can do whatever you want, as long as you also, like, help us out when we need you to. Shady.
So that's the scheming behind everything. So Crocodile has... So why he's called Crocodile, I'm not sure.
What do you
He
mean?
has pet crocodiles. But so
he's the fake croc.
yes. Because his power has nothing...
I'm the real one.
The...
You didn't like that? You didn't like that?
No.
You didn't like that?
No. The only, like, relation he has to water is that he can't fight against water because he's sand.
Aren't there, like, such thing as sand crocodiles? Is sand crocodiles a thing?
No.
Did I make that up? That's not real?
Look
You
it
sure
up.
there's such thing
You
as
got
sand-
the computer. I don't think so, because
Sand
crocodiles live in
crocodile.
water and land. I don't think. They're not like...
Yeah. Wait.
But they have to have water still.
Oh, man, this is... Alright, I thought sand crocodiles was a real life thing.
No, they need water,
You know better than me.
I think. Anyway, but also, like, his alligator things, they lived in the water, so... I didn't fully understand why his name was Crocodile. If you know why,
His name is just Crocodile.
leave it in the comments. And maybe I'll do some research after this, but... when I kept on hearing Crocodile, I thought his power was going to be like Snap Snap or something, to be honest. Like, not sand. So basically, Crocodile's power is he can create sandstorms. He can suck you dry because he because he has the power of sand, so he can like take all your moisture. So that's Crocodile's
Dry
power.
face.
Yeah. So he's basically causing all these sandstorms. He's the one that schemed and plotted the whole hogging the rain in the one town, which was the king's town. And however, he's also, when pirates come and invade, he's the one that saves the day. So people look at him as like a hero. So he's showing like a good face. Meanwhile, he's scheming in the background. So they would never suspect him, which is a part of his plan. So we learn all of that. Vivi knows. King Cobra does not know yet. So Vivi is going to go save her people, tell her father, all of these things. Honestly, there's so much in this saga. I mean, in this episode, arc. Okay, let's fast forward. Two important parts. The Marines show up. That plays an important part.
Yeah.
So the Marines show up. And
yeah, because the beginning part was Smoker and Ace was interacting, and then like the Marines was chasing them at first before they ran to like the desert and stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why Ace ended up with them, because Luffy was just like eating, and he like completely like threw Ace and Smoker like 5 buildings down and shit.
I ended up in these points. I ended up getting really annoyed with the Marines. Like, they were everywhere. I was like, yo, just let them be.
Just let them... They
then,
are criminals.
Yeah. Barely, though. They only have good intentions.
Luffy has 100 million berries on his head.
Well, like... Oh, yeah, that's another important point. His bounty keeps going up. But... Okay, yeah, the Marines show up. They end up being really annoying, but then they are good in the ending. I guess, should we just fast forward to when they actually get to... Cobra?
I mean, at this point, yeah.
There's so much that happens.
Because there's other points we'll hit on later.
Yeah,
like,
as we talk a little bit more about it. Like, Koza's dad plays a really big part.
Yeah.
I love him. I do have some, like, honorable mentions that I also want to talk about in this specific arc that could kind of go over the parts I'm about to skip over. But let's go to the end when it's, like, the final battle. This is really cool. The final few episodes of this arc. We have... There's a lot going on, so I wrote it down. We have Sanji gets an MVP award. He ends up being Mr. Prince. So he kind of saves everybody.
Gang.
Yeah. No.
Gang.
So basically, like, Luffy was supposed to die. Crocodile again, we're fast forwarding a lot.
Because they trapped them in the cage. So basically, I'm gonna help you out too.
No. Before this, when Luffy's about to die. It was
No.
before they got trapped in the cage.
Well, the cage thing happened before they was about to die, I think.
Luffy,
yes. So the sequence
when he
of
gets
it.
buried.
The sequence of it is basically they go into the town after they like find out about like the crocodile being there and all that stuff, and then they run in there and Crocodile traps them in a cage, whatever, right? And then that's with Smoker and all of them with everybody. Smoker, Zoro, Nami, Usopp, and Luffy, and Sanji is still outside with Chopper. Like they're still out there because they're also like running from the Marines and stuff. But the Marines don't even know what they look like.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
So at this point, that's when Vivi is kind of trying to figure out how to get them free, and then Crocodile pulls the whole like instead of me, do you know the bullshit villains do with like they actually don't kill the people when they have the opportunity. They're like, I'm just gonna let this slow build up thing kill you or whatever.
Yeah.
And this is when they're stuck in the cage because it's made of the sea prism stone. So this is the stuff that keeps them from being able to use their powers.
Yep.
And that's when he just starts
That's what
flooding
the
the
cage was
room.
made out of.
And then Sanji pulls a whole fast one and is able to save them because he's the only one.
This is where Sanji ended up being like a hero. And also Chopper. Shout out to Chopper. Chopper is kind of distracting everybody else. And
like he was Sanji.
yeah.
They thought he
Mr.
was
Prince.
Mr. Prince, yeah.
So Mr. Prince plays a big role. He ends up calling Crocodile, saying like, "You remember me?" So then everyone's kind of afraid of Mr. Prince. Ends up being Sanji, but Sanji kind of defeats a lot of the Baroque works, but not the agents, just like the
fodder.
minions.
We call him fodder.
Yeah. So everyone's kind of like afraid of Mr. Prince, and Mr. Prince is Sanji, and he shows up and helps them out of the cage. And then and then they get out of the cage, and then the Chopper comes in clutch on the giant crab.
Yeah. And then this is when they try to like escape. And then that's when Crocodile like
almost
ambushes them.
Yeah.
And then that's when Crocodile and Luffy fight while the rest of them try to get to the main kingdom before the rebellion
And this
happens.
is where you really see Crocodile's power, because like Luffy's giving his all, and Luffy should have died.
He got washed up.
He should have died, but the only reason why he didn't was because of...
Because anime.
Well, no,
he punched right through his whole stomach.
Well, yeah, but then what's her name saved him? I forgot her name. How do I forget her name?
Miss All Sunday?
All Sunday, but what's her other name?
Her name? Mm-hmm. Nico Robin?
Robin, yeah. Miss All Sunday saves Luffy, and you're kind of like, girl, why? But we found out later. But he should have died. He should have. But she saved him, and Pell shows up.
Yeah.
And they rebuild their strength. Meanwhile...
well, detail that you missed here, too, as well, is that when Crocodile and Luffy was fighting, Luffy realized when the water from the
which is important later on. How his weakness is water. He can't create sandstorms with water or liquid. It doesn't have to be water.
Yeah, because like, liquid gets on the sand and it hardens. Because like real life sand, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Science.
Yeah, Crocodile basically cannot defeat liquid. So then, let's go into... Alright.
There's a lot of parts. So
yeah. Should we get into all the fights?
Yeah, because from this point, this is when they're escaping on the crab, and then the Hydro Duck Squad, the Mighty Duck show up. The Mighty Duck show up.
This was an honorable mention that I wrote down. Man. I loved this part. Haru and all of his duck friends, they all ride on them to get into the main town that they're trying to get into. Yeah, what was it called? Cobra's, where the castle is.
The castle, the Alabasta Kingdom, I don't know.
Yeah.
The main city. The main city, whatever. That's where the rebellion's going down. But.
So the Duck Squad showed up.
The hypersonic Duck Squad? It was some weird, wicked shit.
I loved it. It was cool. And they all showed up on the ducks, and they were all basically trying to act like Vivi, because all of the Baroque work agents were trying to get Vivi, basically.
Yeah, like the main squad. They were just waiting there for them to come. And this is when they hit the split up.
Yes, and the dope split up. So let's make sure I got this right. We had Usopp and Chopper.
Yeah.
We had Nami and Zoro. And then we had Sanji and Usopp. No, I already said Usopp. Sanji.
And the camel.
And the camel! Oh my god! Shout out to the camel, though! We forgot about the camel. Lashes was important, too. Lashes played an important role in the desert. God, I'm sorry, Lashes.
He only let the women ride, though.
Yeah, he's a Sanji 2.0, but whatever. But Lashes came in clutch. Of course, Sanji and Lashes were together. Alright, so let's talk about these battles. So we had, let's start with Usopp and Chopper, because I think theirs was first. Anyway, Usopp was playing basically whack-a-mole with, what's her name? The mole lady.
The mole lady.
Momo?
Something Christmas. Miss Merry Christmas, I think.
Which made no sense.
There's no consistency with these names.
Okay.
You're over here like, we went from Wednesday to all Sunday to Golden Week.
Well, no, I kind of understood like the days of the week situation and like...
Golden Week is actually like a thing in Japan. And I don't, you just...
I was trying to connect their powers to their names, like Valentine, but that made no sense either.
Yeah,
so it's either holiday, so it's days of the year.
It's just
holidays or...
It's just things. It's days.
It makes sense. It's special. However, I was trying, I just didn't get like Miss Merry Christmas with the mole. But whatever. And then there was the baseball batter guy.
I forgot his number. Mr. 4? Is he 4? I think he's 4. Because 2 is Bonclave, 3 is Wax, 4 was him.
Yeah. So they were a team against Usopp and Chopper. They were basically playing whack-a-mole. And this is another point where Usopp...
What's the point?
where Usopp shows how he can outsmart his people.
His opponents.
His opponents. So he had to outsmart Whack-A-Mole Lady.
He was getting killed.
He was.
He was. I don't know how he should have been dead. Usopp should have been dead. Because, like, that bat cracked him. And then the dog shooting the...
Yeah.
The dog shooting...
But he ended up defeating...
No, the gun turned to a dog. Sorry.
He outsmarted them. He ended up defeating them. That was one battle. Another battle was Sanji and Bon Clay. This was very enjoyable because of that they both just had a lot of talents with their legs, basically. But what was funny is every time Bon Clay turned into Nami, Sanji, of course, was weakened.
Melody!
So silly. But Sanji ended up defeating him. That was a good battle. And then Bon Clay got a lot of respect for Sanji. And that was important because Bon Clay comes in clutch at the end as well. And then another battle was Nami versus Miss Doublefinger.
Yeah. You're like, that's not even the day of the week. You're like...
Doublefinger. Doublefinger's power was...
spiky.
Yeah, she was spiky. Everything could be spiky. Yeah.
Little Sonic the Hedgehog little thingy. Honestly, I don't know how she... Nami shouldn't have won. It was shenanigans, obviously.
Well, the only reason why Nami won was because Usopp came in clutch with that weapon.
Yeah, her climb attack, her baton thingy.
Yeah. But it did show, like, Nami, like, using her brain and trying to outsmart her because of Usopp's weapon. So it showed her determination.
But all those times she got stabbed with things. Like, one time it went straight through her foot. I was like, yo.
Yeah, that was gross.
What? I'm like, how you casually... Like, I'm freaking out over a splitter. Yeah. If I get a little splinter, I'm like...
So that was the battle going on. And I was actually... That whole battle captivated me because I just kept on wanting to see what that weapon did.
Yeah, because you never knew what was going to happen next.
It was cool. I was into it. It was a little slow. Like, I just wanted to know. But it was a cool battle. And then, meanwhile, Zoro's was pretty badass. He was fighting against Mr. Steel guy. So this guy was fully made of steel. And it kind of gave flashbacks back to Zoro's upbringing of his mentor at the time, the sword girl's dad.
Yeah.
Him saying, like, basically some type of metaphorical thing about
something about steel and cutting.
You can cut through steel, basically, if you believe.
If you believe the power of friendship.
Basically, no.
It's like you had to hear the sound.
It's the rhythm.
Like
no, it's the rhythm. So then,
the rhythm of the night.
Yes. So then Zoro basically, he should have died as well because he's trying to fight Mr. Steel Guy. Mr. Steel Guy ends up being like, yo, he is a fighter. Because he kept on standing up and he's like, he should be dead. He's a good swordsman. Zoro basically is almost dead, like on the brink of death, I would say. And then he like can't hear anything besides the rhythm of the sword guy's
steel.
Sorry, the steel guy's steel. Yeah. So he hears his steel and then somehow cuts through steel and defeats him. That was pretty cool. So those are all the battles going on. And then, Jesus, how do we even get to the end of this? I'm hungry. Can we order food after?
Yeah. Luffy recovers from the first L from Crocodile.
Yeah, so now, okay.
All right, so we got through all of the
fights,
individual like Straw Hat fights,
and now let's go to Cobra being captured and finding out the truth.
Yeah.
So Cobra, Vivi's dad gets captured, finds out the truth. Kind of all of them do. Pell, the other guard, I forgot the guard's names. It's like Pell,
Ingram.
Ingram, or Mr. Nine.
That's Ingram.
Technically Mr. Nine. And Shaka. Shaka? Yeah. They all find out the truth that the Baroque Works has been behind this whole thing. Crocodile owns up to it. He's like, ha ha ha, that's me. They capture Cobra, and then Vivi's there. Truth comes out. They're still fighting. Then Koza shows up, the childhood friend who's the lead of the rebellion at this point. He finds out the truth. And so he wants to end it. However, it becomes he tries to end it, but
there's too much chaos.
There's too much chaos at the end of it. He does end up. No. It's not even that it's too much chaos. It's that the rebellion had some Baroque Works members in it, so they shot at the guards. So there was just like scheme after scheme, and
Crocodile had his. Yeah, he's a schemer.
He had all of his T's crossed, his I's dotted. He knew if things went down, he had
a backup plan for a backup plan.
Yeah. So then yes, fast forward, Luffy does recover and shows up, and they want to find the poneglyph.
The
poneglyph.
Yeah. So Crocodile's whole thing is that he's like looking for the poneglyph because he's like trying to find out this like
weapon.
This weapon called Pluton.
Yeah. So he captures Cobra to bring him to that because it is like a legacy thing that every king in the royal family learns it, king or princess or whatever, and the royal family ends up learning it. So he makes him take him to it, which is in this big tomb thing. This was pretty cool for me. I'm really right now going through my TikTok algorithm brought me to ancient Egypt, like with the cool findings of recently of like Cleopatra and everything. So I'm really into that stuff right now. So this was kind of like captivating for me. Because it just reminded me of ancient Egypt because there was like a tomb and they were going inside and there was like a
desert. It's like the whole thing.
It was pretty cool. Anyway, so Robin all weekend. What's her name?
It's all Sunday.
All weekend.
You know her name is Robin. You might as well just call her Robin.
Nico Robin.
But
yeah, so Robin is the only person that can read this. We don't know why just yet. We learn later on, I believe, because of her historian background and stuff. But she's the only one that can read this. So Nico, Robin, Crocodile, and Cobra end up going to the tomb. They find the poneglyph. Is that right?
Poneglyph, yeah.
Poneglyph.
Yeah, you knocked it out.
And I will say, I had a feeling that she was lying. She basically said, like, it doesn't tell us where the weapon is. Sorry, bro. And then he's basically like, all right, well, your job here is done, and kills her.
well, you're dead.
Because that's all he wanted her for, was to read this thing so that he could have this weapon. Kills her. The whole tomb is about to crumble and crash, so Cobra was going to get stuck in there, but Luffy ends up coming.
Yeah, because he finds his way there from Tashigi tells him which way he goes, because another point, so with the Marines. The Marines
yeah,
stuff,
bring that, yeah.
The Marines are, like, somewhat prevalent here. I'm not trying to, like, steal, I'm not trying to steal her shine, just trying to help fill in some gaps.
This is helping
Help fill in some gaps. So, that's what's also happening is Smoker decides after the whole Luffy thing, like, you know what, he feels like Luffy is probably doing the right thing, but he can't, you know, because Luffy's a pirate. He is a criminal, and he works for the Gov. He can't tell Tashigi what to do. So he's like, hey, you can go there. You're in charge. I'm going to go back. Whatever decision you make, I will take whatever fault you do. Whatever you choose to do. But, like, figure it out on your own. So, at this point, she gets washed up quick by Nico Robin. And when Crocodile shows up with Cobra and Nico Robin, didn't stand a chance. So she's over here, like, feeling mad weak. And that she can't do nothing. And then when Luffy run past, and Luffy's like, yo, you saw where Crocodile went? And she had to, like, really figure out whether or not she wanted to really
Does she
answer.
want to tell? Yeah.
She's like, do I really want to help a pirate? Because, you know, that goes against all her code. And thinking about what Smoker said, for her, she was like, well, I'm useless and I can't do anything, so maybe I guess he can do something.
In her guts of guts, she knew that it was for the good.
right thing to do. Yeah.
Yeah, she played an important role in that.
So now at this point, now the Marines are trying
And Zoro takes a random nap. Not Zoro, what am I saying? Zoro. Luffy takes a random nap right outside the tomb.
Yeah.
Just, like, knocks out.
Because he's tired.
Knocks out.
He's tired.
I was like, what?
Because, so for them, it's like, after that is when the Marines finally decide to actually help the Straw Hats find where this bomb is. Because they're also looking for a bomb.
Yeah,
in the
so
square
meanwhile,
of
while
the
Luffy's
battle.
at the tomb, everybody else, the Straw Hats and Vivi, are looking for the bomb that's about to hit the town square. They're searching, and then all of a sudden Vivi gets this, like,
A little flashback. She's a little flashback.
yeah,
Memory.
to the clock tower. And so she's like, that's where it is. And who's up there? It's
These two. It's
Random.
another set of, like,
Baroque works.
Baroque work
but-
people, like a lower number, like 8 or some shit. Who cares? It was
Not
up there.
8, I think it was like 10. Anyway, it doesn't matter who, but they were up there about to set off the bomb. It was a frog thing. They're like, ribbit. Some ribbit person. They end up making their way up there, like, in the nick of time. They stop the bomb. However, it doesn't stop the chaos. So,
How do you feel about the time, like the time crunch thing? Like in regards to, like, when they set a timeline of, like, oh my god, we have 10 seconds left.
and then meanwhile, like, 3 minutes pass, and oh my god. I mean, it's just a part of the animation. It's just like,
it is what it is.
it is what it is.
It's so I find it so.
We were
it's
both sitting there while we were watching. We were like, all right, 10 minutes have literally passed
Yeah.
in 30 seconds.
Because it's a common trope, and, like, they like to create a sense of urgency and, like, a countdown in time, and you're like, there's 5 seconds left, and you're sitting here like, yo, bro, we've been here for 2 episodes. What do you mean there's 5 seconds left?
Yep.
This is the longest 5 seconds, but, like, I guess they try to make it make sense because they're trying to show multiple things happening at one time, but they can't show it at one time on one screen.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's funny. But, so, they do end up stopping the bomb. Meanwhile, Luffy is trying to defeat Crocodile. And Luffy ends up being covered in blood. And that is the liquid that he basically uses to stop Crocodile, his own blood. So he ends up defeating him. And Cobra ends up carrying out Luffy and
Nico Robin.
thank you, Robin, out of the tomb. Meanwhile, they stop the bomb, but the chaos hasn't stopped. So they're like, so Vivi's standing. This was a lot. Vivi was standing up at the clock tower,
screaming over and over again.
screaming like, "Stop fighting!" Non-stop. Obviously, they couldn't hear her. She was all the way up there. There was fighting going on. I honestly forget what happened. How do they stop it? Koza?
Basically, because Luffy beat Crocodile, the sand was like gone, so it started raining, and everybody started getting quiet, and they heard Vivi scream from the clock tower. Because Pell is actually the one who took the bomb away.
Pell.
And
honorable mention, although Pell, that was a cliffhanger, and then that's all we're left with. Hopefully Pell comes somewhere down the line, but I don't think so. I know, but that's what I'm saying. It was a cliffhanger at the end that he's alive.
I mean, we'll get to that part like once we start to like kind of get to the end part. So I mean, you're almost basically done.
Like, what's the point of him being alive? That's pretty much it. So then, Vivi is left with a decision. All is well. Everything's fine. They save Alabasta. Vivi's left with this decision on if she becomes a Straw Hat or not. So they give her a specific time. Meanwhile, the Marines are still after the Straw Hats.
The whole time.
So,
they're like casually chilling.
Yeah, these damn Marines. So they give her a specific time, but of course, when they're trying to meet her for that specific time, the Marines are after them. So this is when Bon Clay comes to be in at the end. Bon Clay distracts the Marines and allows, because Bon Clay realizes, like, wow, like, what true friends these Straw Hats are. They can escape, keep going through the Grand Line, but they want to go back to this meeting spot just for Vivi. So Bon Clay is like, you know what? I'm going to distract them for you. So Bon Clay goes to distract the Marines and basically sacrifices himself. While they go to Vivi's meeting spot, Vivi's doing like a pretend speech. It ends up being la la la.
Ends up being him dressed as Vivi.
Yeah, but like because she's using a snail transporter.
Transponder.
You could still hear her voice. Basically, because Vivi is a princess of her people, she decides not to be a Straw Hat. But because, so this is where the Straw Hats, like, really showed their friendship and their loyalty to Vivi, even though she decided not to become a member. The Marines were watching. The Marines were there, and they didn't want the Marines to know that Vivi was a part of the Straw Hats or anything associated with the Straw Hats. So instead of talking to Vivi or trying to, like, you know, say like, we'll miss you, say goodbye, they instead held it up. So basically, remember that bandage that they put around? You all know this. Obviously, if you're watching this, you know this. That bandage they put around, they thought ahead, and they actually put an X under the bandage because Bon Clay tried to basically trick them and put a bandage because he noticed, but it actually, they took the bandage off. And if there's no X, that means you're not a Straw Hat. If there is an X, you're a Straw Hat. So this X represents a lot. I want to tie that back to Drum Island as well, but we'll get into that later. So they say goodbye to Vivi through this. And it was powerful. It was a good moment.
Yeah, you was feeling that.
I was shaking in my boots.
You was feeling that.
I think I might have cried.
You didn't cry.
You didn't
close. Cry. You didn't cry.
It was morning time. Afternoon time, I know we were still in bed, and I watched it, and I felt that it was a good moment. It was a good scene. That's one of my honorable mentions. But so Vivi doesn't join, but you know she's always a Straw Hat.
I mean, what's interesting was your reaction when it happened. You were like, I can see why she didn't join.
I wouldn't join. Like if you're a princess of the people, like you have to help your country recover after all of that. And
yeah, I mean, you also felt like it made sense for like the crew balance and what they had.
Yeah, I don't know what she fully brought to the crew, like herself. Karu, I think could. Karu could be
Karu for Straw Hat.
Yeah,
Karu over Vivi. That's a hot take, boy.
Respectfully.
Karu over Vivi?
Well, because Karu's transportation on land. Like, you know what I mean? Am I going to get, like, smoked because of that? I don't know.
No, I mean, I've never heard anybody be like, yo, Karu should have joined the crew. I don't know about Vivi, but Karu should have been there.
Yeah.
He had to stay with Vivi, though.
Yeah, that's true.
We didn't get maybe Lashes. Lashes should have joined the crew.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe Lashes. Some type of land transportation could be helpful for them, but...
No, I mean, Chopper could do that.
That's true.
Yeah.
Not Chopper throughout the whole desert.
He was dying out there.
I mean,
he
is like a tundra animal, but like...
He was fighting for his life out there.
Oh my god, Luffy was so annoying in the desert too. Luffy, like...
When he snuffed Vivi.
God. Luffy, like, bothered me a lot of this arc, Luffy bothered me, but, I mean, it's Luffy, he's a child. But,
He's a child,
God.
he's grown.
He's what, 17, 16?
Yeah.
What were you doing at 16, 17?
No, it's not about me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, he bothered me a little bit. And so did, Chopper is understandable. He's a tundra animal, like, he's in the desert, but... Alright.
So what are your thoughts on, like, the Alabasta Kingdom's, like, history and, like, the poneglyph thing?
It's
like,
pretty...
Did you find it, like, interesting or not?
I found it really interesting, and I wanted to know more. Like, I feel like I'm not done with Alabasta, personally. Like, I want to know more. I want to know what happens to Pell. Like, so Pell basically sacrificed himself with the bomb, and then at the end of the arc, we find out that he's alive. And I want to know why.
Like, why is he alive?
Like, I hope they end up going back to... I hope Alabasta plays a part in the future. If not, it's just a giant cliffhanger for me.
I mean, would you have preferred that he stayed dead or not?
I mean, it would have been a little bit more closure, but, like, why did he come back to life? Is it just for, like, that sense of hope? Like, oh, yay, he's alive.
He's fine.
He's fine. I just want to know why they brought him back, and I just want to know more about the weapon. Like, there's a lot more that I want to learn.
Yeah, theory.
One Piece. Maybe that's why. Okay. So another big important part in this arc is Robin ends up on the ship.
Oh yeah, word.
She ends up on the ship and she's like, I'm coming with y'all. And then we just learned so much about her.
And you did not see that coming.
Absolutely. Absolutely not.
Thankfully, because she's watching, we started skipping the intros. Because I showed you the intro after the fact. And they showed her in the intro. And you was like, why would they put that before?
Yeah, they really
before it even ended.
Yeah. She's on the ship. She ends up being with the Straw Hats. I'm not too far into the next saga. I mean, I'm in it. I'm in it.
You're still in Jaya.
Yeah.
That's like the first arc.
I've been slowing down a little bit because, again,
you've been busy.
You know, December, if you're an educator. But yeah, she ends up on the ship, and she basically she's a historian, and she just wants to know more and learn more about history, and so I'm curious to see, and I'm excited to see her role in all of this. Maybe it has to do with the One Piece. Maybe One Piece is that weapon. I don't know. Maybe it's all connected. I'm interested to see what she does. I also don't fully trust her yet. I'm waiting to get that trust in her. She needs to do something big, something loyal, something, you know. I don't fully trust her just yet. I do like her, though. I think she's a badass, and like she is going to add a lot to the team because of her skills in reading
the poneglyphs.
Yeah.
Also, her powers is kind of nuts. They call it.
Oh yeah, she can. Oh, I forgot to even talk about her powers.
They call it the bloom.
Yeah, that's cool. A little creepy.
The Hano no Mi.
A little creepy, but it's cool. Yeah, I like her a lot. I can't fully see her as a Straw Hat yet, based on where I am. I hope I can see her as a Straw Hat, because I do think she can add a lot to the team. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
So what are your thoughts on Ace?
I'm nervous. He makes me nervous. I know that's weird, right?
You got nervous at the most weirdest point, though. You were just like, yo, the Marines are chasing him. I'm like, they always get away from the Marines. So I was just like,
no, Ace makes me nervous because I think he's just gonna, he's so powerful. I know down the line he's gonna come back and Luffy's gonna have a huge battle.
We shall see.
Yeah, he makes me a little nervous.
I don't know.
I wish he was a little bit more loyal to his brother and wants his brother to be the king of pirates instead of Whitebeard, but hopefully that changes. I don't know enough yet, but he makes me, right now, he's so cool. He's so powerful. He makes me nervous.
He makes me nervous. Crocodile. How you feel about Crocodile?
Sucks to suck.
Sucks to suck.
No, Crocodile was powerful. The way he died was pretty cool. Science.
Science.
That's all I got.
I mean, like, as a villain, you didn't think he was a good villain?
He was an excellent villain. He put up a really crazy battle. Luffy should have been dead. He basically killed Luffy. And Luffy came back to life.
He played himself a lot of times. He definitely, like, had so many opportunities.
He had a lot of opportunities, yeah.
To, like, really just, like, get this over with. And you're like, yo, bro, what are you doing? What are you doing? Yeah. So then from there, Marines. How you feel about the Marines from this arc?
They're still annoying as hell, but Smoke, Tashigi, they're good people.
They're aight.
Yeah.
They're aight.
The Marines as a whole is still annoying, though.
So Bon Clay. How you feel about Bon Clay?
Oh.
Bon Clay is... This is his famous quote within the whole series is like, it's not about the quantity of time you spend, it's about the quality. That's what true friendship is about.
Yeah.
Bon
Life lessons. No, Bon Clay got an honorable mention on my list because he came in clutch at the end. He again saw the value of friendship in the Straw Hats with Vivi, and he was like, you know what? I messes with that, and I'll fight for you. And yeah. He ended up being cool. His powers were also really cool. He could have been valuable to the Straw Hats, but
Word.
Yeah.
All right. So, out of 10, what are you giving the Alabasta arc?
Oh, 9.5.
Ooh.
It was I will say it was a lot, but it tied a lot of things together for me, like a lot of things. It was good. I know my brain was scattered.
That was a quick
No, it was
9.5.
It was really good. And I like that Vivi didn't join the Straw Hats because not everybody has to join the Straw Hats. As much as we probably all wanted her to, I did think like, okay, what value would she really bring? I'm sure she would have brought something like loyalty.
She got yo-yos.
Yeah. But no, I really enjoyed it. A lot of because my honorable mentions. The Straw Hats riding in on the ducks. That was a cool scene. We got to see Chopper's strength a little bit and like him coming in at perfect timing with the crab.
Chopper was clutch a lot. His ability to talk to animals.
Oh yeah, we forgot to even mention that. His ability to talk to animals is very important too. With lashes and the crab.
The seagulls that finesse them. The seagulls? What are they?
No, the little otter things.
Oh yeah, where you forgot all about the otters.
Oh my god, I love the ninja otters. Oh my god, I loved them. There were so much in this arc, bro. There was so much that happened.
No, it's about the birds that stole Luffy's stuff and they were like pissed at him.
Oh, those birds, yeah. Them. There was so much.
There's a lot.
Another honorable mention that I put from this arc was Koza's dad. I forgot his name. But his determination and hope for his town that was from the sandstorm at the very end of this arc when it started to rain and things started going back to normal. He was just like, it was only 3 years. And it was just like a really beautiful representation of what we right now see as like One Piece. Like that hope, that determination, friendship, loyalty, like that was Koza's dad in one character was like the all of One Piece, if that makes sense. Yeah. So he gets an honorable mention. He was dope. And then, of course, the raise at the end. And I want to talk about this X because it also, Koza's dad and this symbol, just the X in general, showed just like One Piece as a whole from, again, what we see it as right now. I don't know if the view of it changes, but hopefully it doesn't. I think in what I can imagine is like throughout the rest of the sagas, to whatever episode 1000.
You got some time to go.
Whatever episode you're on now, I think this symbol and this meaning is going to keep popping up in different ways. But this X in this saga represented like the meaning of being a pirate, and we saw it in Drum Island with Dr. H. He talked about the X in the pirate flag with the cherry blossoms and how it represents fighting like a pirate. Which means like the determination, the loyalty, the motivation from friendship of being a pirate. And you see it at the very end of the last episode too, with the symbol too. So the X means so much in One Piece. I mean, it's on the One Piece logo too.
Yeah, it's a crossbone.
So it's fight like a pirate, and you saw that a lot in this saga.
So at this point, for the Alabasta Saga, the Alabasta arc is your favorite arc.
Didn't I rate another one from the beginning? East Blue, a 9.5 as well?
I don't think you gave...
Or was it just a 9?
I don't think you gave All on Park a 9.5. I feel like you gave that like a 9 or 8.5.
It was a 9 because I really liked Belmare. Because that whole backstory really still sticks with me.
Yeah. There was also like not as much going on there, so like I feel like those details were like more easier to kind of take in.
Yeah, this one was it was a lot. Again, I could barely like formulate thoughts when I was trying to even like summarize it. I don't know if I could ever properly summarize it to somebody who.
I think that's fine.
It was so much in one, and there was just like so many points that you want to get across. So yeah.
So yeah, I mean for this saga though,
it was Alabasta. Long. It was a lot. It was long.
I want to reiterate. It was long.
However, yeah, I think it was my favorite.
All right, so this is your favorite arc.
Yeah.
Your least favorite arc in this saga. You handed out a couple 6.5s.
I gave out 2.
So it sounds like it's between
Whiskey Peak. I don't think was one of my. Although like Zoro is still probably my favorite. I think. And he basically fought everybody by himself. Yeah, Whiskey Peak was not it for me.
Sylvie's favorite, Whiskey Peak. You think Reverse Mountain's better than Whiskey Peak?
Yeah, because I like the whale.
Cool. So now for the hardest question. The one you refuse to actually give me an answer to. But you have to. The people want to know. They're going to want to know. So far, out of our 6 Straw Hats, 7, because I guess you can count Nico Robin now. Or you're not counting her? Let's not count her.
I have a hard time counting her yet, because I don't trust her yet, but I'm sure I will.
Yeah, let's not count her then. We'll count the 6. Out of the 6 Straw Hats that we have. Favorite to least favorite.
This is hard.
You can say preference. You can get the preference. Hey, just so you know, I love everybody.
I do. I have a hard time choosing because they all have their own strengths. Like, Usopp kept on impressing me during this saga. But, like, so was not. I don't know. Nami, now that I've been talking through it, Nami might be a little bit lower than I thought she was. Because originally, I will say, it was Zoro and then Nami. But Nami bothered me a little bit in this.
The stakes are a little bit higher these days. They're fighting, like, a lot more, like, bigger savages.
Yeah, and Usopp, like, I will be honest, like, thinking about this question before this video, I was like, is Usopp on the bottom? But after talking about Usopp a little bit, as we were going through this, like, I guess he's up there. Chopper is cool, too. It's really hard. Because also, like, I have to rate Luffy in this. Luffy did bother me a lot in this specific arc.
I think your order
spiraling.
the order will change as you get more and more to the series. It's hard. It's hard because you don't want nobody to think that you hate.
I don't hate anybody. I love them all. I will say Sanji stepped it up though. Sanji's not at the bottom anymore. Sanji was my least favorite in the first saga. But Sanji maybe is number 3 or 4 now.
You know, San is 3, right? In Japanese.
Wow. Yeah. Ichibi, San. Yeah. Yeah. So I guess I'll put him at number 3.
So number 1 is who?
I think Zoro still.
2.
I wanted to put Chopper there.
Three seconds later.
Well, Nami was originally 2, but like Nami bothered me a little bit for some reason.
I mean, Luffy is part of the 6.
Ugh, exactly. And that's what I'm having a hard time with. So I almost want to be like Zoro. Luffy. Zoro, Luffy, Sanji. Chopper. Usopp, Nami. Nami, Usopp. Nami, Usopp, Chopper.
You don't even feel comfortable saying that. You was like,
I love them all.
You was like, how did Nami end up down here? How did she end up down here?
Nami's a badass too. She's about her coin. I feels that queen. And she defeated Double Finger, whatever, but like because of Usopp. So I have to put Usopp before her.
So Zoro.
But then like Nami was loyal as heck to Vivi. That was her girl.
You really did not want to answer this. The whole time before we recorded this, she was like, do we really have to do this? This part? You don't want to make enemies. Sometimes you gotta make some enemies, though.
I have no enemies, though.
You gotta get the ops. Okay. So Zoro's number 1.
I think so.
Luffy's number 2.
I have to put Luffy before.
You like, respectfully, I can't.
Yeah.
Dude, Luffy's number 2.
He was annoying in this saga, in this arc though. Like throughout the desert, I was like, bro, why are you getting them lost? Just pay attention. But yeah, I mean, Luffy's Luffy.
Luffy gonna Luffy.
Luffy's gonna Luffy, and like his relationship with Vivi and the way he made her feel, I just like, yeah, he should have been dead though. Crocodile definitely killed him if it wasn't for Robin. But
alright, so Zoro, Luffy.
I'm not confident in this, but yeah.
Sanji, Chopper.
Just let me just say, just solely based on this.
Yeah,
saga.
that's fine.
Okay.
It can change and evolve. Next video, I will ask you this again, so people can see how your list changes as we go through. So Chopper's 4.
I don't know. Usopp was like...
So Usopp's 4?
Or it's Nami 4. The bottom 3 are tied for me, so I can't put them in order.
Hey, even. All even after that.
I'm stressed. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I can wait the last 3.
You just go, you tap it out.
Just know that they're the last 3, and you can put them whatever order that you want. I almost want to put Chopper last because, like, I don't have like a deep connection with him because I don't know him as well as Usopp and Nami.
Yeah, but he's cute.
But he's cute, and he's Chopper, and he's a doctor, and like his backstory. But Nami's backstory still has my whole heart. You know, it's hard.
We'll revisit this in the next. If we do another video. I mean, so far you're in Skypiea, you're in Jaya. I feel like it's... How do you feel about that so far?
I have been having a hard time connecting. There's a lot of macho-ness in Jaya, because it's a bunch of pirates. I mean, this whole thing is macho, I guess. It's for young boys, but like... I'm having a hard time fully connecting with Jaya at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. I mean, you also like been mad busy, so like you had to kind of take a break, so you haven't been able to kind of just go.
But
through.
I will say, winter break is I have the rest of this week. Right now, it's Monday, have till Friday. Got the weekend, of course. I usually work on the weekend, and then it's 3 days, and then
why are you giving me a whole work schedule?
And then it's break. So hopefully during break, I can focus on this a little bit more. Maybe come out with another video.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the good thing about Skypiea Saga is only 2 arcs.
Oh. Wow. Okay.
Oh.
Wow.
Well, it gets a lot easier after this point, because like the arcs, the sagas end up not having as many arcs in them, so it becomes easier. It'll get easier from this point. You kind of got through the rough patch. This is like the tough hill. Most people don't make it this far, honestly. They give up.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that in some of the comments on one of the TikTok videos. Like, that one scene that
From
you
the
posted.
East Blue.
Yeah.
People don't make it
either
that far.
makes or breaks people.
Yeah, people don't make it that far, because there's a lot of episodes for people to invest in. So the fact that you even dash through the 140 of them, 150 of them is an accomplishment in itself.
Well, I feel like Alabasta, like, captivated me.
Yeah. But
It's this one that's not as much, but I'm wondering if it's just because of my mindset right now.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So, one last question for you, and then we'll be ending the video, because this has actually ended up a lot longer than I thought it would. So, yeah, Alabasta was long, I guess.
Yeah, it was hard to...
So, what would you tell someone who watches anime but refuses to watch One Piece to get them to, like, watch One Piece?
I'm not one to push...
Stop trying to force your friends to watch anime.
Yeah.
I just made a video for that, so...
But
check that out.
that's the truth, though. Because, like, Corey, you didn't have to... He didn't have to push me to watch One Piece. I will say that. I kind of started watching it on my own. Because I wanted to know about the hype. I also have been just, like, trying to look for something just to watch and be my escape. Because, like, I go through, like... I mean, he can tell you this. I watch Rugrats as my escape. I can probably recite every single word to every episode of Rugrats at this point. So I needed something new and something that could be long-term. And I've been into a little bit more of anime recently with just some random things that we watch, like Beastars and Spy Family, Fruits Basket. So I was like, you know what? Let me just start watching One Piece. I mean, his YouTube channel kind of like also was an extra push for me to start watching it so I can relate to him a little bit more, but like it was more so a me decision. So I did it on my own. So I wouldn't be one to push somebody to watch One Piece. However, somebody did DM me after we posted our first video saying like, wow, like the way you talked about anime and One Piece is getting me interested in maybe starting something. Like, what do you suggest or what do you recommend that I watch? And I kind of just think it depends on the person. But, like, I think One Piece, even though it is a shonen, which is made for adolescent boys.
In case you didn't know.
I kind of think One Piece can be relatable for anybody. I think it's, like, the backstories of the characters just make it super endearing and super relatable to some people. And it's silly. It makes you laugh. It makes you value friendship and loyalty. And for me, as like just where I am in my life right now with my career and everything, it is a really good escape.
There's also like a lot of episodes, so you don't even have to worry about waiting. You don't have to worry about running out of One Piece right now.
I can just watch it wherever and whenever I want. And
yeah.
I am watching it on Netflix right now because of the ability to like skip the intro. Because my time is limited, so I want to be able to skip. I want to skip the intro.
So I can't watch the
like,
intro every time.
And then like click next episode or whatever. So Netflix gives me that ability, but also the app lets me download it on my phone. So when I am on the subway, I get to just watch it. So it's very accommodating to my lifestyle right now. So if there's anybody that's like on the go and wants to just like be able to watch something on the train, One Piece is good for that too.
Usually I bust out a 20-minute episode.
It's so short. And like for me to get to work right now, depending on which location I go to, it's like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's either I get to watch one episode or 2 episodes because the second location I go to at my job is 40 minutes.
You want to give me your whole
sorry.
map.
I get to watch 1 or 2 episodes depending on which place I go to.
Nice.
So hopefully that helps with recommending it.
She's like, hey, if you just want something that's not going to run out until you run out.
Yes.
Yeah.
One Piece.
Yeah. There we go.
But also a story for everybody, maybe.
It's not for everybody. The reason why I'll say it's not for everybody is because some people tend to, for some people who are into anime already, they really want to see action all the time. This is not that.
There's a lot of action, but it's slow action. It's literally slow.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get my little brother's 14, and I've been trying to get him to watch it. But his problem is he doesn't like reading while he watches. So he would have to watch the...
For people who watch anime already, he hasn't unlocked his Sharingan yet. You don't know what that means. What is a Sharingan?
I can just, based on context clues, meaning he can't read subtitles.
It's a Naruto reference.
Got it.
It's related.
Shout out to you, little brother.
You know how that character Sasuke has like red eyes sometimes? That's what that is.
Got it.
Yeah.
I think my brother will get to it. I think maybe he'll have to watch the English one first.
We'll see. All right, cool. You did it. You seem like you're a lot more comfortable this time around, even though you had your notes. You didn't go too much in your notes last time, but
I didn't go as much as
you wasn't even looking at your notes like that. You kind of was able to kind of just flow through it. So you seem like you're enjoying One Piece so far.
Yeah. Also, last time I was tired. I'm tired now too.
You're always tired.
Last time I was real tired. I couldn't even formulate a sentence.
Yeah. All right, so that is Beth's review of the Alabasta Saga of One Piece. We have a fan. You know, she even has a One Piece shirt now from Uniqlo. Sponsor us. So we'll end the video here. But before we end the video, please be sure to subscribe to the channel as well as the notification bell to get notified for more content that I put out. Also, if you're not enjoying this video, be sure to hit us with a like and leave a comment and let us know your thoughts on the Alabasta Saga of One Piece. So, on that note, y'all, enjoy your life.
I'm feeling great and feel the vibe. I'm really grateful we alive. And I'm feeling great cause lately I've been on the way to something great. And I feel alive cause I create like every day and I'm on today.